Hi, this is James O'Keefe of the Massachusetts Pirate Party. I'm joined by Malt, Steve, and Joe for the latest pirate news. So, how are you all doing?
Delightful. Welcome to my stately pleasure palace.
Yeah, well, it's cold and wet outside, and I'm just kind of hanging out with the cat.
I'm glad to hear. All right, so first up is a is an article in Dig Boston that talks about an RFP or request for proposals that the city of Boston is putting out, but also could include other municipalities that would have a private company operate 1,000 camera video network across the Metro Boston area. So this is likely part of the BRIC. And so they're trying to get this out before Boston actually, like Somerville, we have legislation that the mayor and the city council have put together that puts limits on surveillance and has a whole process that to get surveillance, you have to get formal approval. You just can't, the police department can't just go and get it and say, oh, and not tell you anything about it. Boston doesn't have that. And so they're trying to get that ordinance passed. And so it seems suspicious that they're trying to get 1,000 camera network in under the wire, shall we say.
I checked the article. It definitely mentioned 9 municipalities in addition to Boston that would have on-demand access to this. And so basically what that means is every single police officer and probably a lot of municipal workers as well will be at risk for having their credentials stolen, which then would give hackers like that much access to basically a history of live, like constantly recorded video from 1,000 different cameras spread out across 9 municipalities.
And then to top it off, it's going to be run by a third party. And so as a result, you'll have all those employees who will have access to it, engaging in their own acts of surveillance or their own love int or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry.
I have two kind of concerns about third party management of these sort of things just in general. The first is, what is the third party allowed to do with the data? So clearly they have a copy of it. Presumably it's stored in a way that the third party can read it. I mean, there are ways to prevent that from happening, but who's going to go through? I kind of suspect that's not quite the way it's going to work. But yeah, so what do third parties what can they do with it? How can they mine it? How can they, what kind of analytics can they run on it? And the second is, if it's held by a third party, what is available? Is it available for, say, public records requests?
And like, what level of accountability is the third party subjected to? Like, if the police office was running it, there's a better way for citizens to hold the police accountable. But this third party is just like an additional layer of protection and deniability for the police office.
But there's been some other news. Malt, can you tell us about how a company is trying to crowdsource surveillance?
Okay, so imagine if Nextdoor bought Twitch and all they showed was reruns of Cops. That is more or less the product model for this app, Citizen, formerly known as Vigilante, which, like, Jesus Christ, guys. Calm down.
Okay.
Like, ridiculous Silicon Valley tech bro bullshit. Like, oh my God. Like, you know he's a CrossFit dude. You know he's a CrossFit dude. So basically what happened was they live streamed a manhunt for a arson suspect, and they didn't find the guy. The police found the guy. The police found the different guy who did the crime, meaning that an app, a private app, broadcast this dude's face out to 1.4 million people, called him a criminal, and sent like armed lunatics hunting him for a $30,000 bounty.
Wow.
How many young adult novels is that bundled up into one catastrophe?
Wait a second. And you're saying it was, but this picture that went out to 1.4 million people, it was the wrong person.
It was the wrong dude. The whole night they were hunting the wrong dude. And at one point, one of the employees noticed that they were breaking their own terms of service by broadcasting personally identifiable information. The CEO had the brilliant idea to do this every day, live stream a manhunt every day. Which, this is a whole other thing, but there are multiple YouTube accounts run by people who are not Dog the Bounty Hunter, but like doing the Dog the Bounty Hunter like bullshit, where they like bounty hunt people on YouTube. And like, we really got to talk about that, but I don't want to do that to research because it's going to make me mad. So yeah, and Citizen also wants to run a fleet of private security personnel. I think they already have this, like a fleet of
a car.
One car.
I was going to say like the Pinkertons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's just like, we need to shut this down, because if it's not shut down swiftly and like with extreme prejudice, it's just gonna it's going to keep happening. It's going to be the Reddit Boston Marathon bomber catastrophe all over again, every single day across, because it's not just going to stay one app. It's going to be a constellation of semi-related, like, paranoia fostering Facebook clones.
I was gonna say the Quniverse sounds like it's really gonna love this one.
Apparently there was a QAnon summit today, and one of the camera folks spent half an hour focusing on the bare feet of one of the speakers. Why was the speaker barefoot in the first place? That's not even the worst question going on there. Anyway.
But also, I think one of the things that I found interesting was a hacktivist group basically scraped their site and was able to identify that there were something like 1.7 million incidents that people had reported. And so some of this stuff came from that treasure trove, shall we say. But I mean, to your point about the Boston bomber, I mean, as you said, we had that. People were like, oh, here's one person, I looked at this, there's someone up at the top of the building, maybe they did it. And it was this whole, too much information, and all of it of low quality that we're going to see from this. I mean, the one thing that I find, my initial take when they were like, oh, we're going to have a car go around and you'll have your own private security service, was literally the Supreme Court has said the police don't have to protect you. Why do people think in any way that this company is going to be able to protect them? because literally these people, oh, there's a shootout going on. Oh, yeah, we're not going to get involved. Oh, you're being raped. No, we're not going to go into the building and save you. They literally are going to do nothing. Anyone who pays some service for this is likely going to regret it. It feels like a scam.
Oh, it's 100% a scam. I mean, to a huge extent, private security services, home security services, are a scam already. If you check out the book Free Lunch, it's all about, it has a whole chapter dedicated to how most private home security systems are just a pass-through to the local police department.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was something like 90% of the calls are bunkum, to the point where a lot of municipalities now do not send police to these home alarms, because it just wastes time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is it rude to call it a sociopath tax? No, I shouldn't use that term. It's an asshole tax. This is money taken from assholes who want to be an asshole through their smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think there are probably people who are sincerely concerned and want to be able to share it. But as you said with Nextdoor, you're going to get, oh, this person moved in and they're African American. Like, literally not not a problem. Why are you even bothering to report this? But you'll get crap like that probably.
Mm-hmm.
They looked at me funny. But we have something else. Speaking of hacktivism, we have some other things that came out, this time by Bellingcat, which I know not everyone appreciates or likes. But anyways, they did some research. What was that research, Mo?
So I have forgotten the name of the app, but a note card app was especially popular with a group of soldiers training in specifically nuclear secrets. And not just nuclear. When I say nuclear secrets, I mean the specific security layouts for nuclear facilities, including things like locations of security cameras, like foot patrol routes, shift schedules. Basically,
what silos were loaded.
Oh, right, yeah. The number and the volume of the volume of, what was it, fissionable material.
How much radioactive stuff?
Yeah, the death points, the number of potential murderologies that nerd could commit. But yeah, they all put it up online, and the thing about that note card app is that one of the things it sells itself on is that it's remotely accessible. So newsflash, if something is remotely accessible, it is remotely accessible to everyone.
So what
Especially
you're saying
ad
is,
networks.
so what you're saying is these guys made a bunch of crib sheets about, the nuclear weapons protocols and security, put it up on the web, and then somebody downloaded it.
Like I believe a large number.
Yeah, my understanding was they also took pictures. So, you go to like, I've done it. You go to, someone's doing a presentation and you take pictures of the whiteboard and upload, and either have it on your phone or, put it onto a computer, or maybe you upload it onto a work internal network for other people to see or something like that. And that's what they were doing. They were taking pictures of some of these whiteboards where they had sensitive information at these, I think, 6 European bases. And Bellingcat was able to find it.
Thank you, API.
Awesome. So I have one that's it might dovetail on that a little bit. It's a bit of a stretch, but I'm going to try to link the two. So this has to do with a company called Endeca. So Endeca was started in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It was a company that, their interest was indexing and categorizing and, doing searches over unstructured data. And for the purpose of this discussion, let's just call unstructured data stuff like social media posts. So the In-Q-Tel, which is the CIA's sort of venture capital arm, made some investments in the company, and Oracle eventually acquired them in 2013, 2011, about 10 years ago. But basically, one of Indeka's, one of these things that Oracle, through this acquisition, is now, able to market is predictive analytical and policing software. So you can do things like, take your crime records, and now you take the weather, and now you take a bunch of social media posts, and you start, you could start making predictions about, or trying. Well, I use air quotes around the word predictions, because, when you do model training, it's less you are very conscious about trying to avoid bias in your models. You can easily end up with that. And, we have a history of police bias. So if you're just using like ordinary crime records, they're probably skewed in a certain way. Yep. But anyway, what this, now that this product has been, sold to police departments, I guess Chicago Police Department was a fairly big user of it. Oracle is now getting into the game of selling it to foreign governments, like right now China, which is a little bit surprising, because I always thought the Chinese were a little bit ahead of us when it came to, the digital surveillance game. But apparently they have customers in China. What I find kind of fascinating about this is, like, you've got this software where it pulls in a bunch of data and lets lets the user, for, in this case, a police officer or an intelligence analyst, start, just randomly searching around and seeing what comes up, what kind of tweets people had, what the sentiment of those were, and that sort of thing. But if you were to, start scraping, say, slide decks, I bet you could come up with some interesting things. It's, hot nuclear silo, for example. The other thing
near you,
dating
dating apps would be, another interest.
Nuclear silos.
But, I'm sure there are like military personnel who use social media. So it's a little interesting from a national security policy perspective that, for a long time, things that had, military advantage or intelligence advantage to the United States, there were export controls on them. This is encryption algorithms were one, really high-end mass storage devices were another. But the fact that Oracle is able to just sell this stuff to, any government willing to buy it, or any who's willing to pay up enough for Oracle, is just a little shocking to me.
And like, the thing that frustrates me the most is it's all wasted effort, because we know what causes crime: poverty. Deprivation, racism, social exclusion. Like, we can cure crime, but we don't want to, because it doesn't benefit capitalists to do so.
I mean, one of the prohibition is probably the best example of it. Making alcohol illegal did not really stop the people from drinking. It didn't stop the trade, but it made a couple of people very wealthy. The same deal with the war on drugs. Like you said, I have problems with that too.
Like, the president had a doctor write him a note saying that he was allowed to drink unlimited quantities of alcohol at will. Like, how nakedly bullshit. Like, you could buy this brick of grape concentrate with a clearly printed label that said, "Don't leave this in a vat of water with sugar, or an illegal alcoholic beverage will result."
Yeah. Do not place in dark in dark enclosed area for 4 to 6 weeks.
It's like, you'll get ethanol, and nobody
Yes.
wants that.
So, speaking of military stuff, so what's up with the Terminator drones, Malt?
So there was a UN study, a panel of experts released a statement. It's incomplete. It's not full. I haven't read it because it's extremely long and complicated. 555 pages. Haven't had a chance to thumb through it just yet. But apparently, a Turkish-made quadcopter drone engaged in a suicide attack against fleeing Libyan soldiers last year. And it did so using AI. So,
In other words, AI was used to identify
yes,
the soldier?
The drone was AI controlled, and the decision to engage was made entirely automatically without human input.
Also, the drone just decided to go ahead and take them out.
Yep.
Wow.
There was a quadcopter drone hanging around. It saw some guys and it went, "Fuck them." And now those guys aren't here anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we saw with the war between Armenia and Azerbaijan earlier that there were a lot of killer drones that were being used, suicide drones. Although I think they still had person in the loop on that one. I believe some of them were from Turkey, some of them were from, I want to say, Israel. As well on the side. I think that both of those were on the side of Azerbaijan, but it was certainly rather devastating to the Armenians who did not win that conflict.
I've also seen headlines go past that purport that Israel was using some level of automated soldier, automated engagement software during the latest ethnic cleansing activity. So, that's great. We survived one pandemic, and now we are in the like, we survived one apocalypse, and now we're in the robot apocalypse. The plague apocalypse didn't kill us, so now we're going to have the robots to finish us off.
Out of curiosity, what communications mechanisms do those drones use? Is it satellite?
Bluetooth?
Well, if it were Bluetooth, then you can get close enough. That could be fun.
I'm going to be honest. I don't want to get close enough.
I
played Half-Life 2 once. I'm not going to do it again. Fucking man traps.
I know that in the past, at least on an experimental level, people have been able to muck with GPS signals enough to get autonomous vehicles to change elevation. So there's probably some very clever hacking going on in some part of the world that's highly classified but incredibly interesting.
Wasn't it? I'm half remembering something from like 3 years ago, but didn't Iran manage to hijack an American drone and force it to land at a
RQ-170? Yeah.
Okay. So that's great.
That was great. I think that was our latest spy stealth zone. The stealth drone looks, it's that one wing, no tail fin kind of design like the B-2 stealth bomber, or the upcoming B-21. Woo-hoo. Just what we need. So do we have any, is there any update on the insurrection, the J6 insurrection?
Yep. Republicans in the Senate and Congress are continuing to stymie efforts to set up an independent inquiry. There's been some talk about Pelosi taking actions to do so unilaterally, but that's got a snowflake's chance in hell of happening. I found out something really, really upsetting. So when the federal government arrests you, you have a 25% chance of being released on average, depending on the nature of the crime. We're now over 500 terrorists, domestic terrorists, who invaded the American Capitol building with the intent to execute the vice president and prevent the lawful swearing in of the next president. 70% of those fuckers are out. 70%! And most of them are just facing misdemeanor charges. It's I think a plurality of people arrested so far are detained longer than they're likely to serve for their misdemeanor charges of engaging in terroristic activities against American legislators.
So contrast with how the J20 protesters during Trump's inauguration, I believe a large number of them were rounded up and they tried to get, they were doing generally peaceful activity or maybe, blocking a road or something. But
they lit a couple cars on fire. We'll be fair.
The J20? All right, well.
I didn't hear that. But yeah, J20 was facing, I think, a decade in prison, and their court case took over a year to resolve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's
two sets of laws.
The charge escalation, it's remarkably arbitrary. So I think probably one of the better examples is Aaron Swartz, who, for the crime of downloading scientific papers, was looking at decades in prison, and it was bad enough that the dude killed himself.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to attempt a putsch, and get away without even a slap on the wrist is just, that if someone put their mind to it, they could, they could probably find heavier charges, even if they had no chance of succeeding. It's, the strategy is what appears to have been the strategy in some cases where law enforcement doesn't like a person is you just jack up the charges and, make it clear that you're going to spend the next 10 or 15 years fighting this in court. And it's unfortunate that the amount of how arbitrary, that kind of application of charges is a little, it's disappointing.
Here's the numbers that don't make sense to me. Half of all Republicans think the J6 invasion was a staged plot by Antifa, but a fifth of Republicans think it was justified. Is there any overlap there? Like, what the shit? I really think at this point, fuck it. Antifa, let's invade right-wing spaces and radicalize them to do the terrorism that pussy-ass Democrats won't do. Fuck it. Like, if they're going to say we're doing it anyway, let's fucking do it. Join the Proud Boys. Like, let's all join the fucking Proud Boys and get them to terrorize the governor into doing, free public transit for the whole state.
Municipal broadband.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's have them punch each other in the streets, shouting serial names long enough that the cops just fuck off forever. Like, those guys are weird. They're greasy. They're sweaty. They're not wearing any shirts. We quit.
I think it wouldn't matter. I think as soon as you start doing anything that looks at all leftist, they're going to come down on you like a ton of bricks.
I don't know.
I think if you got, you know, like 100 Black Lives Matter protesters who came in with guns to, you know, the Capitol building of a state, there's no way they would be greeted at all nicely.
They would nuke the building. Well, like the American security apparatus would, if Black nationalists took over like a state or federal building, they would destroy the building and they would leave the hole in the ground as a warning.
Well, there's not, you know, there is kind of historical precedent. You know, the Black Panther Party, they were very, you know, very pro Second Amendment, and the usual groups like the NRA, which would, you know, go to bat for Second Amendment groups, they weren't going to the bat for the Black Panthers. You know, normal Second Amendment activists are not, you know, they're not shot through the wall while they're sleeping.
They don't have entire city blocks blown up by bombs dropped from police helicopters.
Mm-hmm.
The MOVE bombing, right?
Yeah, that was MOVE. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, there were remains of some of the children found, kept in storage from the MOVE bombings. I don't know why I brought that up, but that's real depressing. It's all messed up. It's all fucked.
And of course, it's the 100th anniversary, not of the MOVE bombing.
The Tulsa race riot massacre.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is, I think, the first bombing in the United States.
Yikes. I saw, I think it was the Smithsonian put together an interactive exhibit where you could explore a 3D representation of the downtown area that was destroyed by white supremacist terrorists. Does anyone have any good news? Has anything good happened at all this week?
Yeah. So I'll give you a little bit of local good news. So Arlington is still in the middle of town meeting. We're going on, we just finished our 10th night. So, you know, and the thing that we passed was a article that will allow accessory dwelling units. So it will be legal to put in a granny flat, and you'll be able to do it by right without having to go through all kind of, you know, special permitting, or, you know, having to go and sign attestations, or it'll be like a place where people can live, which it's probably the most pro-housing thing my community has done in a very long time. And I'm incredibly proud that we passed this with like 81% of the vote. So
yeah,
that is my good news.
Accessory dwellings help solve childcare issues, and they help solve elder care issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I am flabbergasted that they're not more popular.
So Samuel points out that the UK got exposed for mass spying.
Again?
Is this revenge for getting
Five Eyes? So, you know,
is this revenge for them getting 0 points in Eurovision? Not that I watch Eurovision.
In other good news, China has landed on a probe on Mars, which is the second country to do that.
That's cool. I like Mars. I like pictures of of other planets. They're fascinating to me.
So the UK thing, the GCHQ, which stands for GameCube headquarters, they were running a bulk harvesting program, and they intercepted enough data that it counts as a breach of the fundamental human right.
So, I mean, I'm not. what my first reaction is, what again? I mean, the GCHQ has been a longtime partner of the United States National Security Agency, and as we found out a couple of years ago, the National Security Agency, they do this. Members of the Five Eyes Coalition, they do this.
Like everybody does it. They've been doing it for decades.
And when they're caught, oh, our bad. Sorry, we won't do it again. Until next time.
Like, I don't even think they say sorry anymore.
No, they don't say sorry.
Do you guys have any what's up with all the UFO talk? Like I loved, as from fourth grade
programs in the 60s.
I was obsessed as a kid with UFOs. Like, I read the books, I watched all the Discovery Channel crap. Miracle I did not end up more paranoid than I am. Hollow Earth, woot woot. But I think it's amazing that so much is going on right now that like the vast majority of people don't even care about this.
Well, I mean, I presume that the universe is big enough that I just assume there's got to be life out there someplace.
Yeah, but why would it come here?
It's kind of like once upon a time I took a bike ride to Quincy, right? So that's how you get there. But it just goes to show you, we do know that if there is life out, what life there is probably very far away. And if it managed to get all the way here, well, it just shows you that we are not the brightest bulbs in the universe.
We're not the oldest, at least.
Like, I assume everything up until about 2006, government shit. Everything after that, freaky private, like, rich-ass billionaire bullshit. Fucking, like, fake Iron Man wannabe. That's my division.
When you've got $100 billion and you need a hobby, the hobbies you can have are, they go a little bit beyond like customizing bicycles and homebrewing beer.
So those would be good hobbies for them to do personally.
Yeah. If Jeff Bezos can invent something that sits on my desk, it's about yay big and turns like water and glucose into LSD, that would be fantastic.
He would be in jail, but sure.
Good. Like he would buy the jail. Like they did that plot in Riverdale. No, like Hiram Lodge just bought the prison.
Now they would put a warning on it that said, "Do not combine water and glucose in this container. May turn into, lysergic acid dithalamide."
So we are coming up on the end. I just want to remind everyone that the National U.S. Pirate Party is having its conference. They have sessions at 9 p.m. Most nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. There'll be one tonight on how to organize a state party. There'll be one Tuesday, Thursday. I'll be talking about how to run for office, and then Saturday and Sunday for the end. Additionally, we have conferences coming up. Not conferences, sorry. We've got our own events coming up this Saturday. At 11, we'll have our democracy/tech meeting. And then on the 26th, we'll have another organizing meeting, our Pirate Moot. We'll be sure to put those in the description as well as in the chat. And as always, thanks for watching. Thanks to you, Steve, Malt, and Joe, for giving your take on the news and bringing up such interesting and varied topics. And as always, like, subscribe, and, you know, click that bell and check us out at masspirates.org. We're always looking for people who want to run for office, who want to organize in their communities, who want to help build the Pirate Party in Massachusetts. So thanks, and take care, everyone. Bye.
Good night.